Teenage sister got pregnant by my boyfriend behind my back at 17. Now my parents are marrying them off while giving them half of my inheritance and cutting me off when I'm against it. My sister got knocked up by my loser ex. That's the truth. It couldn't have been said in any better way. My ex, 27M, and I, 24F, dated for 2 years. Post which I introduced him to my family, my parents, my sister, 19F, and my brother, 15M. 5 months later, I discovered him cheating on me and knocking up my sister. I was shattered. It was like a bunch of arrows thrown at me from all directions. I got cheated upon and that man is gonna marry my sister and I'm gonna bump into him for the rest of my life. If you're looking for a context, here's one. My ex and I were in the same college. He was in senior year while I was in freshman when we started going out. He had dropped out earlier to help his dad set up his business. When things got better he rejoined. 2 years of dating and 4 years of knowing each other, I took him home. It was all happy and fun. We spent the night at my hometown. We went out to a local bar with my siblings. I didn't notice anything wrong between my sister and my ex. This was 2 years ago, my sister was 17 then. We came back the next day and everything remains normal. My ex and I were not living together. He was living with his brother while I lived with my college friend. That was better than living with my ex because his work involved travel. He also used to travel to his hometown often to oversee his dad's business. I told my parents about this and they freaked out. Mom slapped Rosie hard on her face. She had always been a troublemaker. She dropped out of school at 14, ran away from home twice at 15, and now got knocked up by her sister's boyfriend at 17. She has not told our parents yet. However, when they got to know, they immediately took her for the scan and it turned out that she was 7 weeks pregnant. She confessed that my ex used to travel twice/thrice a month to meet her and they used to spend the night at a hotel. The cheating broke my soul. 1. Because I got cheated by 2 very important people in life. 2nd, I was in a serious relationship with my ex. I never had a boyfriend before. I'm quite a studious, boring girl. While my academics benefited me in a lot of aspects, like a full ride at university, it has deprived me of a social life. While I was still processing my heartbreak, my mom told me they were planning a wedding for my sister and my ex. That was another blow to me. I yelled at her that she was still supporting her. She said no matter what, they're not gonna abandon her in this condition and they would be doing everything to cover up her mess. I rolled my eyes and asked her to leave me alone. She said, I know it hurts you, sweetie, but do we have any other option? We can't get rid of the baby. It's a sin. We can't let the baby grow up as a bastard, can we? We have to get them married. I have spoken to his parents and they're flying down this weekend. She's yet to show so we can have it in the church instead of a hush-hush city hall wedding. I stood up and started packing my stuff to leave. I can't just stand there and take every BS they were putting up. She stopped me and said, you can't leave. It's your only sister's wedding. I was aghast. How could she even ask me to attend that whore's wedding who slept with my boyfriend? She said that was in the past. In the present situation, she is my sister and I have to attend her wedding because they don't want to answer people who question my absence. I was like, really, Mom? Your teenage daughter got knocked up by her elder sister's boyfriend and you are worried that people are going to question my absence at her wedding. You definitely need to align your priorities. She said she doesn't understand these complexities. In her eyes, my ex is now my sister's would-be husband and the father of her child in my bill. WTF. It made me sick to the guts. I said I'm not gonna give in to her pressure and I'm leaving. She called up Dad and asked him to rush home and knock senses into me. I was about to leave before Dad arrived. She said if I leave, they're gonna abandon me and I should never show my face to them even if they die. I said sure, if you are gonna support your low-life daughter over me, then I'm cutting you all off from my life too and they should never contact me either. On the wedding day, a lot of friends and family called and texted me asking me why I didn't show up at my sister's wedding. I didn't answer any of the calls. One of my cousins who is close to me told me that my parents, especially my mom, told everyone that I didn't attend the wedding because I was jealous that my younger sister was getting married while I was still single. My blood boiled on hearing this. Quite unusual of me, I went to Facebook and wrote a detailed post describing how my sister got knocked up by my boyfriend and how my parents are getting them married to cover up everything. I attached my pictures with my ex in the post to prove my point. My phone blew up after that. My parents sent me threatening messages to take down the post. I took it down but after a week. They said I brought shame to their house. To cover one lie, they said another lie that I made a false allegation out of jealousy because my ex found my sister more attractive and fell in love with her. Could you imagine the level of toxicity? I swore to never see their fucking face again in life. That was 2 years ago and since then I'm NC with them. I'm in touch with my brother though. He contacted me after that and said sorry for not standing up for me. I told him it was fine. He was 13 then. He told me that my parents had put a fancy wedding for my sister from their savings. They had even helped them settle down in the adjacent block. Mom babysits for her son while she roams about with her friends. Yesterday, my brother called me out of the blue. I was in a meeting but I rushed out to take it. We talk over chats and hardly on calls so this has to be urgent. He told me dad passed away. I was distraught. I hung up the call and took the first flight to my hometown. I came here but I don't know where to go. My mom had asked everyone not to inform me because I didn't deserve to attend his last rites. She was still holding up the grudge against me. I checked into a hotel because obviously, I could not go home to my cruel mother. My brother told me that the funeral date was yet to be decided, but it was mostly tomorrow or the day after. I haven't told anyone that I am here. I don't know if I should visit my house or not. I mean, my family is still bitter about me. Given my situation, what do you guys suggest? Update 1, thanks for all the support. I felt so relieved to talk to you guys on DM. Some of you commented that I was scared that my family would gang up against me and that's why I was not going. Well, you guys are right. I was apprehensive that they would knock me out. I cannot fight with them if they gang up, and obviously, I don't want to put a fight in front of my father's dead body. Somehow, I mustered the courage and told my brother that I was in town. He insisted that I attend the funeral and that he would be there for me if something of that sort happened. I said, thanks for the protection, but I think I can manage. I didn't do any wrong that I need to hide. So, I showed up at the funeral. My brother was waiting for me. We hugged each other and cried. My mother and sister gave me looks. My sister yelled at my brother why did he called me. He yelled back that he was all of us dad and I had the right to attend the funeral. Their point was that if I had sworn to cut them off from my life then I shouldn't be allowed to attend his funeral. My sister almost chased me out, but my uncle and my brother stood up for me. I saw my ex standing in the corner, holding his son and watching the drama. My dad might not be the best person out there, yet he was my dad, and watching him lifeless was the most emotional moment of my life. I broke down, but no one except my brother was there to console me. I was about to leave after the funeral when my dad's lawyer told me to visit his office the next day for the will reading. I said I'm not interested. Given my past relationship with my family, I wasn't hoping for any good from his will. He said my dad left me a letter which got me curious and I decided to stay. The next day I showed up at the attorney's office with my brother. My mother came charging at me that why was I there and asked me to leave. They called me names, that I was there just for dad's money. I said I didn't need the money, dad had left me a letter. I was there to collect it. They can keep the money. Mom said she knew what was there in that letter. He wanted to tell you that he was disowning you, he hated you for shaming the family publicly. I cursed myself for showing up just to get humiliated. Thankfully the attorney came and relieved me of their taunts. He started reading the will which dad had modified last year. The house in which they lived was always in mom's name, so she gets to keep it. His savings and insurance money goes to mom for her survival and the house for retirement. Besides that, he had invested in a trust fund and he divided it between 3 of us. He also mentions the reason behind the division. My sister's son gets 10%. My sister gets 20% because he funded her wedding and paid for their house lease. My brother gets 30% for his university. The remaining 40% comes to me. That was a shocker for everyone, including me. The reason he mentioned was he didn't fund my education. I got a complete scholarship from uni. After I got the job, I helped him pay the house mortgage for over 2 years. My sister flipped out that I got double her share. Though my father mentioned the reasons very clearly, she said it was unfair. She repeatedly asked the lawyer if it was the updated one because dad wanted to disown me. The lawyer said that dad had left a letter for me which he wanted him to read in front of everyone. The letter read, dad was really proud of me that I was able to make such a good career for myself and that he never had to worry about me. He said he was sorry for not standing up for me and giving in to mom's pressure and manipulation. He mentioned a few other moments of my childhood and growing up that he cherished. He asked me to take care of my brother. He said he wished to post this letter himself, but he didn't know my address. He hopes to talk to me before I get to read this letter, and he tells me everything in person. I have read that letter at least 100 times after that day, and it still makes me tear up as I write this. My sister and ex left the room midway when the letter was read. My mom remained there and cried. I cried like a toddler hugging my baby brother. I had the return flight in the evening, but my brother insisted I stay. So, I've been here for a week now, meeting my brother over brunch and dinner. We just talk and catch up about life and random things. He's finishing high school this year and planning on moving out for grad school. Honestly, I'm worried about him that after I'm gone, my mother and sister may target him for supporting me, but he says he's now grown up to handle any shit they throw. I'm going back tomorrow. I'll update if anything develops, else this is the end. Update 2, it's not over yet. Looks like my sister and my ex got no chills. So, I came back from my hometown after a week and found a notice in my mailbox. My sister has challenged dad's will in court, saying that there's a typing mistake by his lawyer. They are claiming that dad has given her 50% of his assets, but the lawyer has made the mistake. I contacted my dad's lawyer and sent him the notice. He said they could not do anything about it because my dad had signed the will in his senses in front of the attorney and witnesses. Apart from that, dad had clearly mentioned the reason behind the division, so it's a no-brainer. He said that the judge is going to dismiss the case as soon as he reads the will. That's what happened. The asset gets divided as per the will. The case was closed. I thought we were done here, but no. Emotional manipulation was on the way. Mom called me. She was crying over dad's death. She said sorry for cutting me out of their life. After she was done shedding her tears, she asked me how I was doing at work and what was new in life. I said work is fine and so is life, regular. She asked if I got the promotion since I have been working for so many years now. Got curious and asked her why she wanted to know this. She said she was equally proud of me as my dad that I was excelling in my career and doing so well for myself. I said and? She muttered, well, you know your sister couldn't complete school and got pregnant at a young age. She couldn't have a career like you. And she's pregnant again. They are surviving on just one source of income. So, I was thinking why don't you be a bigger person and give your share of the asset to her? Well, you can't deny that your dad was being unfair and giving her only 20% while you get double. I stopped her right there. First of all, it's not that she couldn't complete school, it's rather she didn't complete and dropped out. And you still consider that dad was unfair when dad has clearly mentioned the reason for his asset division. I paid the mortgage for 2 years of the house in which you are living. It's not my problem if my sister is surviving on one income. She made that choice. She should have thought about her husband's income before skipping protection for the second child, and yeah, how could we forget about getting knocked up for the first one? My mom lost her mind at this. She was mad that how could I even say these words in front of her. I was like, I just said, you're a princess did all of this, why didn't you lose your mind at her, but I see you still coddling her like an infant. She called me mean and jealous of my sister. She was having a family while I was still single. And that's why I was trying to hurt her financially because I cannot beat her in any other aspect. I said sure, whatever you think. I'm done reasoning with you folks. Yes, you don't have enough brain to understand my point. Probably that's why you gel better with your 6th grader loser daughter. She hung up the phone saying I was spitting poison and that I'm still that vindictive bitch that I was 2 years ago. Do you guys think I should give up my inheritance just because my sister is mindlessly expanding her family without financial planning? Update 3, here's the new update. Almost a month after the last phone call with mom, one morning I was leaving for work when I saw my car tires were being slashed. I thought my neighbor's child pulled this prank, so I hailed a taxi and went to work. Meanwhile, I called the car service company to get the tires fixed. They fixed it and sent me the pictures. However, when I came back home in the evening, I saw the tires were slashed again and my car was painted piggy. I saw the other cars parked nearby and all of them looked fine. It cannot be a coincidence that the children are targeting my car unless I did something wrong to them. I don't remember having any encounters with any children in the neighborhood. I went upstairs to find a note in my mailbox. Give me my share or else I'm gonna make you suffer every day. I immediately called my lawyer and told him about the incident. He asked me to change the locks of my house, install a camera outside my apartment, and check the footage of the camera installed in the basement. I informed the chairman of the apartment and asked him for the camera footage. I reviewed it. I saw a woman, wearing a long oversized coat and a big hat entering the basement in the early hours of the morning, but unfortunately, nothing else got captured because the camera angle didn't cover the area where my car was parked. The same woman again entered the basement in the late afternoon, but there was a man with her with his face fully covered. I knew it was my sister and my ex. Since I didn't have any concrete evidence against them, I could not report them. 2 days later, I came home to find someone had broken into my house through the window. It has to be my loser ex because my pregnant sister cannot climb on someone's window to break open mine. Nothing was stolen, but he brought down the house to ruins. The curtains were pulled down, the pillows were torn open, my clothes were cut down like confetti, and the china sets were broken into dust. I cannot explain how terrible I felt. It was not about the money. My house was insured, but you understand the hatred they had for me. This called for a police complaint. The cops came and made a note of everything. They asked if I doubted anyone. I told them about the car incident, the note in the mailbox, and my history with my sister regarding the inheritance. The odds worked slightly in her favor because she was pregnant. It took a lot of effort and evidence to prove it was her because the camera didn't capture her face. Based on the circumstantial evidence like the note regarding the asset share and her presence in the town when this happened, their previous charges case of challenging dad's will, everything put together built a case against her. However, the cops let her go with paying the fine and threatened her not to bother me again. She confessed that she was the one who did everything and not her husband. She did it because she was envious of me regarding dad's unequal division of assets, and besides all that, she was hormonal so she couldn't control her rage. She had to assure the cops in writing that she would never bother me again. I accepted it because I'm tired of all this. I don't have just this one thing in life. I have a career, I have a life. But I threatened that if this repeated I'm gonna go nuclear on her. My brother told me that he heard mom talking to my sister and telling her that she was smart and taking everything on herself because her husband would have incurred a heftier fine and maybe some prison time, who knows. I can't believe they would do this to me. It hurts to think that I never did anything wrong to them yet I'm getting this kind of treatment. Makes me wonder if there really is any karma. If yes, then how these kind of people are able to escape that? Now on to the next story. Story 2. Wife started doing yoga every day and staying late, so I hired a pie who caught her cheating with the instructor. Then I exposed her affair at Christmas party and served her with divorce papers. I, 37 male, met my wife, 33 female, 12 years ago at a cafe in the city. I remember the day vividly. She was sitting at a table drinking a cup of warm tea and reading a book while she was wearing this adorable little dress and a sweater. Right away, I thought she was the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen. I was never really much of a ladies' man, so it took a little while for me to work up the nerve to talk to her, but when I did, we hit it off right away. We dated for 3 years, and we've been married for 9. She and I have gone through a lot together, but in the end, we've both always known that we had each other. After we got married, we wanted to try to have a baby and start our family. Now, we have one beautiful daughter. It really felt like we were the perfect, happy family. She and I both work full-time, we have good jobs with good benefits and a solid security blanket. I knew she wanted to quit her job and stay home with our daughter full-time, but that wasn't practical for us unless we wanted to make a lot of major cutbacks in our lifestyle. After the pandemic, her job started this healthy lifestyle reward system. The idea was to get the employees who had been more sedentary when they were working from home back up and being active by rewarding them with gift cards, movie tickets, etc. My wife was actually pretty excited about it. She had been quite stressed out and she wanted to start taking a yoga or Pilates class, something like that, so she could try to de-stress while she was being active. It was the perfect time to do it, so she enrolled in a yoga class at a local studio. She started out by going once or twice a week just so she could get a hang of how it works. Every time she came back she was exhausted, but she would tell me that she could already feel how she was less stressed out. As time went on, she was taking more classes at the studio. Twice a week turned into every other day, which turned into almost every day. She was enjoying herself, so I didn't really think much about it. She had even told me about friends she made at the studio. It seemed like her social life was thriving, she was happy, and she was confident. Everything seemed fine. One day, she came to me and told me that she was changing her class schedule to take something in the evening instead of in the morning. It worked out better for her, so I didn't think much of it at the time. Her morning classes usually lasted an hour, she'd return home about an hour and a half after leaving. The evening classes took a lot longer. I wasn't immediately suspicious that something was going on, but after a couple of weeks, I started to wonder. I pulled her aside one day and asked her why she was always coming home so late, and she told me that the class was more intensive, so it lasted a bit longer. She explained that with this class they begin with a meditation, then go into more elaborate poses, and then after class, she and a lot of the other students would hang around and chat for a bit. She was so sure about everything she was saying that I had no reason to doubt it. I'd never had a reason not to trust her before, so my worries were soothed. It wasn't long after that conversation that I was at work one day when I got a text message from my wife. Attached was a picture of her standing in front of our bedroom mirror naked. She and I had never really sent each other pictures like that, especially not while I was at work. It was something that I'd heard other couples have done to spice things up a bit. What really caught my eye with the entire message was the text attached. In the message, she said that she couldn't stop thinking about the night before. I was confused. We hadn't done anything the night before. I didn't know what she was talking about. She replied back very quickly, telling me that she had sent the text by mistake. She made a joke about how voice to text didn't capture what she said properly. She tried to clarify it by saying she couldn't wait for tonight. I honestly didn't buy what she was saying. I thought right away that she had sent me the entire message by mistake. I knew it was meant for someone else. I spent the rest of the day at work anxious and worried that something was wrong. When I got home, my wife was instantly telling me that she had a headache, felt dehydrated, and had been vomiting. I thought it was interesting timing. I had an old friend from high school who used to work as a cop, but they changed their career to work as a private investigator. I reached out to him and explained my situation, and he said that he'd be happy to help. I played it cool while he was looking into what was going on. I didn't want to raise any suspicion to give my wife the upper hand in continuing her lies. About a week after he started, we met for lunch at a restaurant in town where he showed me the evidence. I had been right to suspect there was something going on. I was honestly shocked to find out that it was with her yoga instructor. In hindsight, she only referred to the instructor as the instructor. She never used any pronouns like he or she. Maybe I was in the wrong, but I assumed it was a woman. On top of that, I had voiced my concerns to her about her late night classes, and she lied to me with such ease. He showed me evidence in the form of pictures, videos, and messages he was somehow able to get his hands on. I had a full collection of documents for their infidelity. Divorce was the only option for us. I would not be giving her a choice in the matter, we wouldn't be going to therapy, and we wouldn't even be having a discussion about it. I went back home, trying to think of the best way to go about all of it. I was angry and I was beyond hurt by her. I wanted to get even for what happened. She had a Christmas party for work coming up, so I figured I could use that opportunity to embarrass her. After all, it was her work health benefits program that sparked all of this. I had everything ready to go to serve her with the divorce papers, so when we left later that day I mentally prepared myself for what I was getting into. As with every work Christmas party I went to, my wife walked around the room and said hello to people while I joined the few people that I was familiar with. After a few minutes though, I went around the room and introduced myself as my wife's ex-husband. I enjoyed seeing the little wrinkle in their eyebrows when I introduced myself that way. I could tell that they were all curious about why I was there. One of her coworkers said that she had no idea we ended things. I got to tell her that my wife didn't either. She was very confused, but I watched her spread what I said to everyone else there. Everybody in the room was gossiping about my wife. They probably thought I was crazy too, but I didn't care. Toward the end of the evening, her boss got everyone's attention and made a toast. When she was done, I chimed in on the tail end and made my announcement. My wife stared at me with her jaw hanging on the ground when I told her about how I found out about her affair. Everyone else in the room was a little tipsy and very intrigued by what I was saying. They would be talking about that Christmas party for years. Honestly, I wouldn't blame my wife for quitting. I told my wife that it was over, gave her the papers, and drove home without her. As far as the instructor goes, I called the studio that he worked for and they have a strict policy about employees being involved with clients. He was fired from the studio.